Kia ora koutou, no mai haere mai, and a warm welcome to everyone to Frogs on Friday. On today's show for Mahi Media, salaries are up, job applications are also up, but where are the jobs? Here's some of the jobs. We'll go through some of the hot jobs across New Zealand, Australia, and the UK, and what opportunities lie in Wellington amid some temporary challenges, or hopefully they're temporary. So we're joined today by a familiar face, 𝗪𝗵𝘁, to get his take on the Wellington market. And we will finish off with the social media poll results. So let's jump into Mahi Media. Okay, so just in case you didn't get enough doom and gloom in last week's Frogs on Friday, I'm here with a little bit more. But to be fair, it really is the same kind of market data in this report that we're looking at. It's just from Trade Me Jobs, so just from another source. So let's start with the low lights and then work our way up to something more positive. So across the Motu, the number of job listings decreased by almost 40% compared with last year. So this was largely influenced by our two biggest regions, Auckland, which dropped 47%, closely followed by Wellington, 44%. Again, with some bad news, I think unfortunately we are likely to see some further decline in the next quarter for Wellington as they continue to experience the fallout from the public sector cuts. But perhaps Mark might have some insight into that later in the show as well. We've also seen a huge increase in job applications, so up almost 62% from last year. So although that might be good news for employers who are looking to fill their vacancy, what it means is that it's a really tough market out there for job seekers with huge competition for fewer jobs. So where are those jobs? Well, it looks like you might have to take a trip south. So the South Island gets the nod, with West Coast, Southland, and Nelson Tasman areas experiencing increased job listings, so bucking the trend there. So maybe now is the time to consider a sea change or tree change, or actually I don't know what kind of change it is if you're going to move to Southland, but perhaps just a general change of pace. So let's take a look at some of the jobs on offer this week. Now, first up for our temple contractor job of the week for New Zealand is a financial analyst role. This one's based in Wellington. So I'll get Mark to jump on and tell us a little bit more about this and other opportunities in the contracting space.
Yes. Okay. So this role for a financial analyst in Wellington is a contract role. It's relatively short term, which is unusual in that it's for 3 months, working for a government corporate entity and doing some work mainly with assets, understanding and valuing assets and liaising with particular stakeholders there. So look, we are quite towards the end of this process. So people are being interviewed. So it's moved very quickly. They need somebody to start next week. But if you are interested, it's good to get in touch with me on 49786620, and I can keep you up to date of where this role is at. And if this one's not right for you, then we may have another one for you.
Excellent. Let's jump on to the perm role of the week for NZ. Okay, now this one's actually sitting with me. So, a health and safety advisor based in Auckland. The office is based in the CBD, but with work all around 𝗪𝗵𝘁. This one a little bit of a similar story to Mark's in that we are very close and have an offer for this position, but it's not quite a done deal yet. So again, it's always great to see if you are interested in this. There's some similar opportunities coming through as well. So I'd love to hear from you. So if you do have that health and safety background and an interest in looking at what other opportunities are coming through, please get in touch. Okay, let's take a look at a sample of some of the jobs across the ditch. Okay, actually, it's not just across the ditch. Of course, we've got the UK as well. So some of the working holiday maker jobs we have available. So there's a receptionist in New South Wales, a kit assembler, so working within medical devices in Queensland, and for the UK, an assistant finance manager. Again, as always, it's just a sample of the varied roles that we have on offer. So get in touch with our great people-to-people team in Australia and the UK. Okay, so thrilled to be joined by Mark Smith, so as Group Managing Director for the People-to-People Recruitment Group, which of course includes Frog Recruitment as well. But he's joining us in a slightly different capacity and is obviously joining us from Wellington today. So let us into what's going on, Mark.
First thing I'm going to say, Shannon, is that it's not a midlife crisis. It's not a midlife crisis. But I've taken on a different role, and I'm probably bucking the trend here a little bit in that there's a lot of Kiwis moving to Australia at the moment. I think the last number I saw and some of the stats that you've shared on Frogs on Friday is something like 600,000 Kiwis are currently working in Australia at the moment, nearly 11% of what the workforce is here in New Zealand. But I'm bucking the trend, and I've moved to Wellington. So I'm still chair of the businesses in Australia, but I'm principal consultant here now in Wellington on the tools and recruiting. And I've been here now for just under, I think, a month. And it's a very interesting marketplace.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, definitely great to get one back with the steady flow of Kiwis going the other way. So it is really nice to get some of the Aussies coming to join us.
She's been a temptress for me. She's tempting me with it's got great weather that's out there, and I haven't really experienced anything, but everybody tells me September is going to be diabolical. So we'll see what happens. But right now, it's a beautiful place. Weather's great. Enjoying the crisp winter mornings. There's a whole other conversation that's probably not for today about grabbing a coffee on Lambton Quay and which one I should actually get to. Swimsuit apparently is where I'm meant to go. Haven't had one there yet, but anyway, we digress. Sorry, Shannon.
So unlike you, Mark. But yeah, I'm sure you'll get lots of suggestions for coffee or where. I was about to say people telling you where to go, but we can't say that to our guests, can we? So just about a month in, and obviously, you know, on recent weeks, months, you know, we've been talking about the impact of the market, particularly in Wellington, and the pressure caused by the public sector cuts, particularly. What's your feeling coming into that? And I guess the difference between reading about it and being on the ground.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I mean, clearly there is it's what's the word? The word that we've been using and which has caused some angst, I think, for job seekers is that it's quite a brutal market at the moment here in Wellington. The sort of public sector cuts that we're experiencing have not been seen for quite a long time, and the equivalent market conditions would be aligned to, say, the global financial crisis around 2008, 2009, in terms of our experience here at Frog, in terms of the number of vacancies. Look, it sounds like it's a very negative way to view the job market. This is the 5th cycle that I've lived through in that where the market declines. But for those who are actually out there and seeking work at the moment, I know that the market will return. It always does. So the questions for job seekers really at this point, and particularly in the contracting space, because there's been a lot of contractors, there's been a concerted effort to save money, and the easiest way to do that is to first look at the contracting workforce that's within the particular departments, for example. But for those people who are in that situation, then it becomes a question for job seekers about what work am I willing to do, how flexible I am in terms of the rate that I'm willing to take. Because one thing I have noticed is that a lot of job seekers are confusing the rate that they're securing for the work that they've been doing with their own personal worth or value, and that is not the case at all. So you really have to separate those two things. So if you're a neurosurgeon and you're working as a receptionist, well, you get paid as a receptionist, you get paid as a neurosurgeon. And so the real question for job seekers is, well, how flexible am I? How flexible am I on the type of work? How flexible am I in the type of the location that I'm willing to work in as well? So we were working on that financial analyst role, very much closed, very close to being closed. I'm still happy to talk to people about it that we've had just a few moments ago. But there's certainly still work available. Like an example would be that we're also working on some roles for family law solicitors. So 2 years post-qualification experience, or a litigation lawyer, 6 years post-qualification experience. The government might be making some cuts in departments, but one thing you can be guaranteed is people still sue each other, and there are still issues in families. Okay, so law firms, for example, are one part that, or one segment of the workforce here in Wellington that seems to be bucking the trend. But there are certainly others as well. So keep a positive mind, but also understand that you may have to be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, some good points there. I guess looking from a job seeker's perspective, so I talked about the huge increase in the number of applications coming through. So likely to be in some fierce competition when there are jobs available. What are some quick tips off the top of your head for how they can stand out and put their best foot forward?
So this is also quite a shock to many job seekers in that they are, and particularly at the more senior levels, say in contracting, where people are used to being approached, and that jobs are just coming to me, or their network is providing opportunities for them, and now it's not. So one of the couple of things that you do need to do is don't sit and wait for opportunities to arise. You need to be a little bit more proactive. So on a really basic level, pick up the phone. And I've noticed, so a change from when I was in Australia is that people are picking up the phone more regularly. And I had this situation yesterday. So a chap that we're working with at the moment, he's in finance, so at quite a senior level in finance. And he said, well, Mark, I know that I've missed out on this. It wasn't quite right for the analyst role. I said, well, how about we have a coffee? So we did. And now we're working together with his network to see if we can nut out an opportunity for him. But not waiting for the jobs to come in, but rather speaking to his network. Now, I'm doing that with him. And if you've got a good recruiter, I'd like to say I'm a good recruiter, of course I'm going to say that. But if you're working with a good recruiter, then they can possibly reach out to your network or to reach out to their network to secure opportunities. Or do it yourself. When was the last time you actually updated your profile? connected with or sent a message to people that you may have worked with 5 or 6 years ago. So exploiting your current network and being proactive by going a little bit old school and picking up the phone and actually talking to people or getting in front of them personally will make a big difference. Sounds really basic, but it can make that difference. Like the candidate I saw yesterday. So I'm working with him specifically. I've got an hour with him this afternoon, and then hopefully we'll be able to find or exploit his network to seek out an opportunity for him early next week. So yeah, it's don't wait, take action is I suppose the one tip that I would give.
Fantastic. Now, of course, you can probably pick this up yourselves, but I'm sure Mark is really keen to network and he loves a chat. So if you're on the
We're
market...
We're probably already over time, aren't we, Shannon? We're over time. I'm sure we are. Anyway, yes, we are. I can see. There we go.
Yes, slightly. So if you want to get in touch with Mark, I'm pretty sure he's going to be welcome the opportunity to have a chat and see how you might help each other out. All right.
One last thing, a really random thing. If you speak French and you're an accountant, you should call me. Got a little opportunity bubbling away on the side. You should call me if you can speak French, yeah? Because I may have something for you.
Sounds intriguing. All right, let's take a look at the polls. Okay, actually, I'll probably regret asking Mark for this, but this might be something he might want to comment on. So how often are you contacted by your employer outside of work hours? So for here, 1 to 2 times a week seem to be the going average. But the reason we were asking that is due to new legislation in Australia. Mark, do you have a comment on that? I'm sure you do.
So there is the right to I forget the exact language, but you can ignore that contact from your employer. So it's a right to disconnect. So it was a late amendment to legislation recently in Australia. So yes, you can ignore your boss in Australia without consequence, after hours, of course.
Sounds good. All right, let's take a look at this week's question. Now, this one could be a contentious one. We'll see. Is it acceptable to reapply for a role that you've previously been rejected for? So, you know, we're seeing this huge numbers of applications coming through and people fighting hard to get work. So is it good to be persistent, or is that going to have the opposite effect? Love to see how the results come through and also your comments. That's it for today's show. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back same time next week. Ka kite anō.